Good evening, my friends. Welcome to the show. I am Lou Mongello. Thank you so very much for joining us live right here tonight at WDW Radio Live. If you're watching us live, do me a favor, tag and invite a friend here in the comments. The more, the merrier. There's a lot to discuss tonight before the snap, or lack thereof. I appreciate all of you spending and sharing your night with me, with us tonight. It is a very exciting time. If you are a Marvel fan or you play one on TV, the countdown has been on for a long, long time since we sat in stunned silence. And if you didn't, you did it wrong. At the end of Infinity War, tomorrow is the day we have all been waiting for. Tonight, we are going to do not an Avengers Endgame, but a little Avengers pregame. You see what I did there? I tried. We're going to do a little pregame with a insert big spoiler-free, completely spoiler-free discussion of our expectations, maybe some of our speculation, and I will share my top 10-ish list of Avengers Endgame non-spoilery theories. And I want to be very clear, this is a non-spoiler discussion. Nobody likes people who spoil stuff. I am not going to do that. Anything that I talk about tonight is pure speculation or expectation. I have no prior knowledge. And if there is anything that I feel is really maybe close to the truth, I am not going to discuss it because I want to be fair. I know a lot of people have taken moratoriums on their social over the past couple of days and weeks. But I appreciate you being here. This is going to be a lot of fun. I certainly want to hear from you here in the chat. We'll also maybe do a little call-in later on, but I also have a favor of you first. So I want you to sit back and relax and get comfortable, grab a snack. But do me a favor, share this either on your timeline, with a friend, tag a friend, in a group, if you're allowed to do that. I think the more the merrier. And again, this will be a very fun, did I mention spoiler-free? Thanos does not like spoilers, and nobody else does as well. Thanks to so many of you who are in the box already. I've been really looking forward to this for a long time. Amanda Bonner, this is awesome. This was it was a present I received last year in the mail, and it's one of the coolest things in my collection. So it's a little large. This is not forced perspective. It is actual size. So Kelly Lawrence, currently I am scheduled to see it twice. Make sure I'm scheduled to see it twice this weekend. That's probably going to change as I continue to go on Saturday and Sunday. And when the kids are back in school, I'll probably go on Monday as well. Jimmy Kenny, rule number 1, no spoilers. Rule number 2, no spoilers. So if you have seen it or know someone you have, or if you're one of these people that likes to be spoiled online, please, 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 this is not the place for you. So what I want to do is I certainly want to hear from you. I want to hear about what your thoughts and your expectations, your speculation is. Corey Bassett, who used to be my friend, says it's regular size for the rest of us, giant size on Lou. The crying smiley face does not negate the cruelty and the meanness of that, but it's true. Liz Meeks, my favorite Meeks, it is good to see you. So, yeah. And again, if you ask me questions that are spoiler related, I will completely ignore them. Andrew Tan, my first showing is tomorrow night. And I chose to go tomorrow night as opposed to doing any sort of previews because the Marvel Cinematic Universe and these movies is a big deal for us here. We've all been counting down, and I did not want to see the film ahead of watching it with my family. So I didn't go to any sort of media previews. I actually was unable to show you how much I love the WDW Radio running team. I did not go. I don't even know if I told people this. The press junket in Hollywood was the weekend of the Star Wars Marathon weekend, and I chose to stay and cheer for the running team as opposed to going out to the press junket. It pained me just a lot of bit, but it was the right thing to do, and I'm looking forward to seeing it with my family, and then a bunch of friends are going to go on Friday, and then I'll be sneaking out many, many times on my own to see it again and again and again. I Amazoned Prime all of my Depends, so we're all diapered up, ready to go, because you are not going to want to get up and leave your seat. Go to a dine-in theater, or just don't eat. Go to Waffle House after the midnight showing. Don't eat anything beforehand, because I don't think there is going to be any opportunity or possibility of getting up. And it was not, listen, that was not a sacrifice. Those were choices I made not to go to the junket and not to go to any media preview. I think, my family is incredibly patient. They might have actually disowned me had I gone to do that beforehand. So I want to be able to look at each other. I want to be able to look at my son in that theater and then walk out and share our immediate reactions. Maybe I'll record. You know what? Note to self: somebody send me an email. Remind me to bring my recorder tomorrow so I can record. Or I'll be able to do it on my phone to record our reactions, and we will definitely cover this on the show in a way that will not spoil it for people that haven't seen it, or in enough time to give people to see it. So maybe in a week or two we'll do it. So they were doing intermissions during the opening shows overseas, as Eric. My understanding from some folks I know that work at theaters is that they are not doing intermissions here. What they have done is a lot of theaters nationwide have added showings, not just at 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, but they're doing overnight showings. I know some friends who do who work at theaters in Chicago. You know who you are, friends of friends. They have shows running all night long, and the theaters are the showings, at least at that time, were selling out, and I assume they will be. I mean, I cannot imagine going to a 2 a.m. showing of a 3-hour film, but it's Endgame, and there's Waffle House afterwards, and if you do it with friends, who cares? It is going to be a lot of fun. Richard Pete, one of those friends that I saw out at Star Wars Celebration this past week. I don't have the graphic in here, but thank you to all of you who have been listening to the Star Wars Celebration recap. I really appreciate it. If you have not checked it out yet, please do. iTunes, Stitcher. I think we're now on Pandora, iHeartRadio. There was some other else too that they just told me. I don't even remember. But what you can do, what I'd love for you to do, is again, the best ways to spread the word is to help spread the word. You are the marketing army. You are hopefully the evangelist for the show and invite people to listen and become part of the community. So please do that about tonight's broadcast as well as this past week's review of Star Wars Celebration, which I think has something for you no matter where you are on the Star Wars, scale of fandom. So Jenny, thank you very much. A lot of people are doing their Infinity War rewatches tonight. I have been trying my best to rewatch a lot of Marvel movies. I don't have a lot of bandwidth to watch TV, but I have been sort of taking my laptop downstairs and having movies on in the background, which helped sort of lead me up to what I wanted to do tonight in terms of our, not Endgame, our Avengers pregame. And I want to have a conversation with you guys, not at you guys. This is not a broadcast. It's a conversation about what we can expect, what some of our speculation is, and I'm going to share my top 10-ish. I think I actually have it down to top 10-ish theories. So Jason says, is it required to see Captain Marvel before seeing Endgame? If you can, I would really, close your laptop, shut off your phone. I would go see it right now if you haven't. I think getting an understanding, at least a basic understanding of Captain Marvel before you see this film in terms of what we think her importance might be in it, might be very helpful, because we don't want you to be, as if I have any say, you don't want to be confused when you get in there. Michael Goldtrap is going to rewatch Captain America Civil War and Infinity War as a primer. I think those are two excellent ones to watch. If you had to ask me your top three, I think Civil War, obviously Infinity War, and God, there's a couple other ones in there that, well, as I talk through tonight, you'll see there's one I would recommend that I didn't think I would, but I think might have a little bit of relevance and importance. So, so I just saw Corey says there's a specific time period people say to go to the bathroom. Can I share? Please don't share that, because I don't think there's any time. If you go to the bathroom, you either really need to go to the bathroom or we've already talked about dining strategies or lack thereof before going to the theater tomorrow. So it's a dine-in theater. We're not eating. Basic bread and water beforehand, just so there are no potential issues of necessity through. My Amazon search history may or may not actually show Adult Depends in there. I want to be safe and secure and comfortable at the same time. So, all right, let's get right into it, because I want to make sure we leave some time to hear from you, maybe have you guys call in as well. I want to start off by telling you what this is not going to be, okay? Because it's going to eliminate some things that would have been on the list that I think either are obvious or don't bear discussing. This discussion, these predictions, these expectations, at least in terms of my list, are not going to revolve a lot around the time travel aspect of it. I think we know that will certainly be an element of it. We will likely revisit events of the past, possibly going back as far as the original Avengers. This is also not going to be about who is going to die and who is not. I do expect this film to be a tearjerker, but I'm not going to share my thoughts in terms of who may or may not survive, or if that's even an issue at all. I also want to address the Ant-Man in the room. One of my theories has nothing to do with Ant-Man entering Thanos and blowing him up from the inside out. While I find it somewhat humorous, I don't think it is worth discussing, and I certainly don't think it is a legitimate theory, and I will not bother with it other than what I just said. I'm also not, I'm not going to share a theory that I have about a character and an element of the film that I think that I'm almost so sure is going to be part of the film that I don't want to, because I said at the beginning, no spoilers at all. So I will not talk about what I think actually might be. So some of these are going to be fun. Some of them are going to be funny. Some of them are meant to hopefully make you think. Darlene Nagy from West End, New York, this glove is way too big. It literally is the size of my head. So Thanos is a large, strapping man, and clearly, yeah. So Jimmy Kenny, will we need another show on Friday night for reflection? We will absolutely do another show, a spoiler-filled discussion, because I think we're going to need a decompression time. So whether it's Wednesday or another night during the week, I'm not sure. I do have some other stuff going on next week that I will share with you on Monday. Next week, obviously, is Hollywood Studios' 30th anniversary. There are events going on that I will be covering in live broadcasting. We will see how to sort of make everything mesh in together. So, also, this is not a theory, but after Infinity War, after the first and the 100th or so viewing of the Infinity War, a lot of us were talking about how. And we're disappointed or frustrated. This is not a spoiler. Hopefully you've seen Infinity War by now. How this is all Star-Lord's fault, right? Because had Star-Lord not punched Thanos in his grimace-looking face while they were... Spider-Man was this close to getting the gauntlet off of him. I don't think that it's Star-Lord's fault. I'm going to take the blame off of Star-Lord, and I'm going to put it on somebody else. And I thought about this over the past couple of weeks, and after I've watched Infinity War twice in the last couple of weeks, the fault of this happening is not Star-Lord's. It's Thor's. Those of you who love your Thor, long hair, short hair, Ragnarok Thor, whichever one it is, it's Thor's fault. And the reason why, and I'm mentioning it here because I think it's going to play into potentially Endgame, because Thor didn't go for the head. And what I mean by that is Thor's own personal, like Star-Lord, his personal sense of vengeance made him aim for his chest so he could look Thanos in the eye and tell him, I got you, I defeated you, this is me getting my revenge. Had he gone for the head, had he gone for the kill shot, this wouldn't have happened. I don't think that is there, and I don't think what Thanos says is there by accident. So that does not actually count as one of my theories, because here is, Becky, I know you're disappointed, and I dig Chris Hemsworth as much as the next dude or girl or whatever for oh so many reasons, but it's all Thor's fault. And I believe, I know you can go back and sort of blame other people along the way, but when he had the opportunity to finish him, he didn't. And while Thor, I think, has, in terms of story, I don't say that that the films are the best, but in terms of character arc, no other character has gone through such a maturation process from Thor being the very egotistical, self-centered. Look at Thor in his original film, and then look at Thor. And I'm not saying that the Dark World is one of the best by any stretch of the imagination, but watch Thor's growth and maturity, and it really does sort of happen, later on, and even in Ragnarok, which I watched again the other night, which was practically morning. I really enjoyed that a lot more than I remembered it, and I enjoyed it because I liked seeing where Thor was going, and certainly even when you watch Infinity War, as he becomes much more not retrospective, but introspective on the vulnerability of Thor that did not exist at all in the first film, was something I really appreciated in terms of his personal character growth. And he's also incredibly handsome as well. So, but that being said, I want to share my top 10-ish Avengers Endgame theories. Now, these are ones that I have personally, certainly I know that they align with other theories that are out there. There are dozens, if not hundreds, of other theories. Some I may or may not subscribe to. Again, I want to be clear, I know nothing. This is all just me sort of thinking, especially based on having watched the films again this past week. We cool? We ready? Lenny Alberts, it was good meeting you in Chicago as well. Again, one more time, share this out, invite a friend, because here we go with number 10 on my list of Avengers Endgame theories. I would snap the fingers, but here we go. Number 10. Shuri backed up Vision and is going to be a surprise hero. If you go back and watch Infinity War very carefully, there's a moment, and when I say moment, it is maybe 2 or 3 seconds, that just as Thanos' children are coming in to get Vision once Scarlet Witch leaves that room, she changes something. The way that she had been sort of working on the Infinity Stone changed, and I think what she was doing was either creating some sort of a backup system, the world's first backup. Everything we learned in Spaceship Earth about the first backup system, I think she either backed it up, made a copy, somehow protected the essence of what Vision is and what Vision was. So this is not about Vision necessarily coming back, although I think that he will, or what Vision is. And I think, and there's another theory that I have that's going to tie directly back to that. But I think Shuri is going to be the unexpected heroine of the film, in some things that she is doing or has done. So yes, Stephanie Perry Bullock, thank you, Phoenicians, and thank you, Shuri, for backing up Vision. I just have a feeling in my little vision-y heart of hearts that we have not seen the last of, or heard the last. He might not look the same way, but we might not see the last. And if you remember, and those of you like me who are going to be getting Disney Plus the day it comes out, you know that there is a Vision and Scarlet Witch series. We don't know the timetable for it, but I just have a feeling. So that is number 10. Number 9, everything is happening exactly as Doctor Strange had planned. Now, we know that in Infinity War, he looked at 14,600,000 different scenarios, and there was only one that in which they won, and that's exactly the way he is going. So what he did with the hiding of the Time Stone, or maybe not, is going exactly in terms of what he saw in the future. Now, as an extension of that, and this is why I think you need to go back and watch Doctor Strange, which I did recently, is we know that time travel and the quantum realm is going to play a part in this. Ant-Man and Pym are not the only ones who have been to the quantum realm. Doctor Strange, and I think people forget this, Doctor Strange has also been to the quantum realm, which is the same one, the exact same one that Scott Lang went to in Ant-Man. So if you go back and you watch, when Doctor Strange first meets the Ancient One, she sends him on this astral plane journey through all different dimensions, which also might play to, including the dark dimension, which comes up later on. And more importantly, he goes into the quantum realm. And if you watch the DVD commentary, Scott Derrickson, the director, confirms that the quantum realm that Doctor Strange goes to visit is the same exact quantum realm that Ant-Man went to visit. So while I think Scott Lang will have an important role in what happens going forward, especially in terms of the quantum realm, don't discount our friend Doctor Strange. We cool? All right, let's go down to Dormammu. I've come to bargain. And I'm trying to watch and keep up. Emma MCL, stay up for the first time forever. It's a topic you know nothing about. This will be a good primer for you to go in. Let's go to number 8. An old character, or 2, or 3, is going to return, and it's probably not who you're thinking. So when I say an old character is going to return, who is it that you think is who I'm referring to? So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share 2 theories. I'm going to do a twofer here in terms of who I think is going to return. We mentioned it briefly before. I think somebody else mentioned it in the box as well. I believe when we were talking about this essence of Vision and Vision coming back, I think he will, while he may not necessarily occupy that same form. I think that same thing is going to happen, not just with Vision, but with Ultron. And if you watch Age of Ultron again, which you should, it's definitely better. If you watch Age of Ultron again, there's mention of the Endgame in there. Tony Stark says that up there, that's the Endgame. I don't think that was necessarily accidental. I think that was very much meant to tie this film to that film. So, and obviously Doctor Strange and Infinity War says we're in the Endgame now, so there's 2 references in the films. But I would not be surprised. Remember, the the creation of Ultron, which was not just, there was a little bit of Tony in there, there was a little bit of Vision. The intent of Ultron was not necessarily bad. It was corrupted and it was tainted along the way, but there might be a way or a reason to have Ultron come back. To that same point, now that one is a little bit more far-fetched, but I would bet dollars to donuts. I would put my money on, I'd wager my infinity gauntlet on it that you are going to see Harley Keener come back. And you're saying, Mongello, seriously, go out, get some sunshine. Who is Harley Keener? Very easy. It's the kid from Iron Man 3. Not necessarily the best film in the franchise, although this too will have connections going forward. I think that Harley Keener is going to have not just a role, but an impact in Avengers Endgame. It was too much time spent in that film on what would be a throwaway character. His role in that film was not just to help Tony work through his emotional difficulties. There's a reason why he was there. And if you think about it, by the time Endgame comes out, according to timeline, about 4 years or so has passed. So the kid would be about 15, 16, 17, maybe a good age and time to have the Iron Man, Iron Kid, Iron Boy, Ironling torch passed from Tony. So if you think about it, he's much like Tony Stark, right? He's a kid in a garage. He's super talented with techie and nerdy stuff. He had Tony to a certain degree as a bit of a mentor. I think it was a mentorship that went both ways. And the last time we saw him, where did we see? He was in his very much updated and much more higher tech garage with all kinds of tech that Tony left for him not to play with. It wasn't potato guns. It was for him, I think, to work from and to learn from. And I think it's safe to assume that he has been honing his technical skills and his intellect since we saw him on Iron Man 3. And I think, too, the way that film and his story ended always felt like it was unfinished to me. It was too sort of abrupt of a conclusion to that story. More importantly, the relationship between Tony and that kid, which is a pure friendship that is very much unlike anything else that Tony has had. And it could be a way to help pass that torch, if there's a torch to be passed. So again, I'm guessing, based on the rewatch, I'm guessing. So, all right, let's go to number 7. This is not one that I think is a shocker to a lot of people. This is one that was very much thought by a lot of people. Those who disappeared, who turned to dust, Spider-Man, I miss you so much, are not the ones who are dead. But guess who is? And what I mean by that is this. If you watch that scene very carefully, specifically certain dialogue from characters. So Black Panther leans over and says to Okoye, this is no place to die, right? I think he sees that she is dying, right? When Doctor Strange says there's no other way, I think he's saying that the only way to do this is by sacrificing some of those people. And in the scene that made me cry, right? Literally, like I cried in the theater. His Tom Holland's Oscar-worthy, by the way, performance said he doesn't want to go, right? He doesn't want to leave Tony because I think he sees or feels or believes that Tony is the one that's disappearing. Tony is the one who's dying, and he does not want to leave Tony. And when Cap sits there and says, "Oh God," does Cap sort of acknowledge that he is the one that's dead? Or, and I think this will tie into something else I'm going to talk about later, we might be looking at, well, maybe they're not dead at all. And I'll get to that at all. So, Mark Thompson, Howard the Duck is not part of my theories, or he might save the day. Kevin says Gamora is differently dead. Sadly, Kevin, I think we'll get to Gamora. This is one that I mentioned in the Box People group. I think in this film, and I'm expecting it to be something that happens in the third act or the end of the second act. I think some wrongs are going to be made right, and I don't mean timeline wrongs. I don't mean continuity wrongs. I mean relationship wrongs. And what I mean by that is, and there's really two specifically. Well, yeah. So the two really that I'm thinking of is, I think we're going to see, when I talk about returns of certain characters, I think we're going to see Howard Stark return, or we will see Howard Stark again in some sort of a transposition of time. And I think Tony needs that opportunity to right some wrongs with his dad. It's still something that burdens him, that eats at him. He spent that, $60 million on the barf, simulator it wasn't about the technology. It was about that moment with his parents that he wished he could do over. He might get the chance to do that again. I think he wants to right some wrongs that he did with his dad, and I think he wants the opportunity for his dad. I'm going to get choked up. I think he wants the opportunity for his dad to tell him the one thing that he never told him, which is how proud he is of Tony. I also think, and again, I want this to happen because I love this character in lots of ways, not meant to be creepy, but it is. I think that a young Peggy Carter is going to get that dance with Cap after all. Cap has been unlucky in love, even with Sharon. I don't think that's the relationship going forward. I think Cap's heart still belongs to Peggy, and I think all he has ever wanted and somewhat regrets was being too, he's been too late. He was too late with Sharon. He was way too late with Peggy. He might have the opportunity to right that wrong and get that dance that young Steve Rogers always wanted. And I just love Haley Atwell so very much. In one of the last two trailers that we saw of Avengers Endgame, at the very beginning, we see Tony giving a video diary, which looks as though it would make sense that it would be from the beginning of Endgame, right? Tony is out in space. This is sort of where, they've left Titan, or he's adrift in this ship without any food or water. I don't think that's from the beginning of Endgame. I think it's from the end of Endgame. And I think that there is a possibility that Tony, for the first time in forever, sacrifices himself and the people and the things that he truly loves in order to save others. And this is very much unlike the very self-centered, egotistical behavior that we've seen from Tony's story arc. Has not, while he has changed his mission in terms of Stark Industries, his personal story has not changed very much in terms of him being so egocentric. Robert Downey Jr., a credit to his acting, makes him still very likable. Like, he's a jerk that we love to like, but I think that when it comes down to it, he is finally going to make that ultimate sacrifice for the person or the people that he loves. And that is why he is left out on that ship. I also think that his legacy is going to live on, but I'll get to that in a little while. So next theory, number 4, we're down to our last few. Our last 4, the surprise hero is not going to be Ant-Man, but Hawkeye. And I just wanted an opportunity to say Hawkeye because when I saw the Mohawk and I paired it with Hawkeye, we got Hawkeye. When we saw in Infinity War and the post-credit scenes and trailers, Ant-Man coming to the Avengers facility, it looks like, oh, Ant-Man comes out of the quantum realm. He knows how to fix things. He's going to show up and be sometimes the little guy, stature-wise, can be the hero. I don't think he is necessarily. I think it's going to be a team effort, obviously, and there's certain characters that I think are going to play a very big part in the. And to be clear, this movie is not just about defeating Thanos. That is not. I would not be surprised if the. Whatever. I don't want to go. I think Hawkeye is going to be a surprise hero, and part of the reason why I put this one so high is because Hawkeye has been, Hawkeye is the least superheroic of the Avengers. He and Black Widow, in terms of, and Tony Stark too, but in terms of superpowers, like, he's really good at archery and darts and golf and stuff like that. That's about it. Hawkeye's done with his arrows. This is why I don't like this guy. When he's done with his arrows, then what does he do? Like, in the original Avengers, I'm like, dude, you better be very, very deliberate with the use of those arrows, because you only got like 5 left, and there's a whole bunch of Chitauri. When he's done, he's got great, sixth sense and sense of presence around him, but that's about it. But now he is Ronin, right? And Ronin, and I don't mean Ronin like Ronin the Accuser. They're spelled and mean very differently. Ronin is a term for a Japanese samurai warrior that has no master. He is now a Ronin. He is a warrior without a master. And I won't sort of get into the Ronin character in terms of comics, because Clint Barton was not necessarily the first, nor shall he be the last of the Ronin character. But if you also watch the Endgame clip, you'll see that he is training a young woman, and obviously a lot of people think, well, it's got to be his daughter, right? And clearly this must be his daughter. I don't necessarily know that that's the case. He may be training the next Hawkeye. There's a character named Kate Bishop that replaces Clint Barton as an Avenger. And while I think it might be his daughter, the ages just don't seem to match up time-wise. Not that time necessarily has the same linear meaning in this film, but it would not surprise me for her to be a new character. It's not unlike, and we've past Marvel Cinematic Universe history has shown, it's not unlike Marvel to introduce new heroes during some of these big, huge, battles and team up movies, right? Look at Scarlet Witch and Ultron, Quicksilver. May you rest in peace. Maybe this new Archer, maybe this new Hawkeye, taking over that Hawkeye mantle or Ronin mantle could very much be it. This one I is more of almost. I'm not necessarily sure that I subscribe to this, but I think it's just a fun theory to talk about, due in large part because, of the popularity of the character himself. But no resurrections this time. It might not be a resurrection, but maybe Loki really isn't dead. If you look, and we're going to get very nerdy very quickly. If you look very, very carefully, there are some little tells in the film that almost could give you the sense that was not really Loki who died, and that Loki might be in disguise as, and I'm not going to say who, and sometimes they are, if you pay really close attention to I swear I've dated in my past, really, if you look, and there's a parallel, not just with Loki, but with Tony Stark in terms of what hand they use, right? Watch the way Loki stabs Thanos with his left hand instead of his right. Maybe this was a projection. Maybe it really wasn't him. Maybe the god of mischief is actually fine and pretending to be somebody else. And I know he obviously has the Disney Plus series. We don't know where that fits timeline-wise. This might be a young Loki, but I don't be so sure. And I almost want to sort of extend this in terms of who he might be almost masquerading as, which would explain another character's unusual behavior and inability to do certain things that he or she was able to do in the past. I want to make that as cryptic as I can because I want to say it, but I don't want to say it just in case. So I'm going to move on because we're down to our top 2, and I want to hear from you, our top 2 theories. Let's hit it. Theory number 2, Pepper Potts, a woman with, previously no real superpowers before Iron Man 3, is going to be the one that comes to the rescue. And rescue is capitalized for a very specific purpose. If you go back to the comics, there's a Secret Invasion version of the comics where Pepper finds a suit of armor that Tony made specifically for her and hid in a secret room in his office. I think, and again, I won't sort of get into where it fits in sort of the timeline of the Russo brothers are crafty little liars, and I mean that affectionately. What you see, as you know from past performance in the trailers, is not necessarily always in the film. It's also not necessarily accurate. There are scenes that are filmed specifically to throw people off. I think you were going to see Pepper Potts and her newfound powers that she has, that she got in Iron Man 3 because of what happened. And this is, again, a reason to go back and watch even just the second and third act of Iron Man 3. Pepper might come to the rescue, and rescue is not just meant to rescue a person in danger, but rescue the character. And I'm going to throw in a bonus. I'm going to throw in an appendice, a codicil, a 2A to Pepper Potts, because I also believe, and this is what I was referring to earlier when I said Tony's legacy lives on, I think you are not only going to see Pepper Potts, but you're going to see Pepper and Tony's child. If I had to wager, and if I did, I would wager all 6 Infinity Stones that it's a daughter, because I think Tony Stark needs to have a daughter. So too lineal with son, Howard, Tony, and another son. I think his son is going to be the little kid from Iron Man 3, but he's going to have his real daughter with Pepper Potts. And why do I think that, Lou Mongello? Because the first scene that we see in Infinity War was Tony telling Pepper that he had this dream. It was so real. You know when you wake up and it feels so real? Yeah, it feels real because probably it was, Tony. Maybe there's some sort of weird time jumpy stuff going on. She says that she's not, but what if maybe she didn't know she was pregnant? What if something happens later on? Or what if she wanted to surprise him because she was waiting for him to get rid of those nanoparts that were living on his chest? I think that the time, and I mean this in terms of the film itself, the time in Infinity War was so limited and, dare I say, precious, that why have that scene in there if not to satisfy a specific purpose? And if there's a time travel thing, maybe he finds out about his kid, when he meets her later on. I don't know, but I just believe that whether he knows her, he meets her, we see her, whatever, I think Pepper Potts is going to have, or has had, or will have Tony Stark's baby. I think it's going to be a daughter that does not necessarily have to pick up the Iron Man mantle, which is maybe what the kid from Iron Man 3 does. It's like having that perfect little white picket fence family, but because remember, that kid's dad went out for a pack of smokes, never came back, Tony Stark wants to be a good dad to that kid. It's all coming together. His dad wasn't a great dad to him. He wasn't a great son. He can right all those wrongs. Cats and dogs living together. I just put this together. I like this theory even more. So, all right. Last one. Last theory. I don't even remember what this one is that, okay. This is not the end game. It is not the end game. It is the turning of a page of a chapter in a very long book. It is not necessarily the end of maybe, yes, the Avengers as we have known them. It's not the end of what we have come to love in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think it is the beginning of something else. And what I think this might be the beginning of is what has been alluded to in multiple films. Again, going back to Doctor Strange. Dormammu, I've come to bargain. I want you to go back and watch Doctor Strange again tonight. This might be the beginning of not the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse, right? And I think, and again, the time travel makes things a little murky and mucky in terms of, if they make changes to things that happened in the past, does it happen in a very linear type of way? So is what we've seen in the past a result of what is happening now in Endgame? Or does it change the timeline? Are there multiple universes? Is what happened in the original Avengers what happened because of what's going to happen now? Or does what happens now fracture the timeline? That's a different universe. Or does it change maybe what happened in Endgame? We've seen shots of these characters in costumes that are very much look like they come from the original Avengers. Is it because they've traveled back in time, or is there an alternate universe? Benedict Cumberbatch actually said in an interview that the Marvel multiverse is coming. Now, that may have been a slip of the tongue. It may have been a red herring, but let's assume for argument's sake, because it does very much exist in the comics. And obviously the world we are seeing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is an alternate reality from the one that we live in, right? We don't live in a universe where there are Avengers and Chitauri and battles of New York and giant creatures coming out and spider people, although I wish he existed. So we have to already assume that there is a multiverse. There is another universe that we are watching. I think this also allows them to even potentially introduce or bring back in characters such as X-Men, Fantastic Four, that we've seen in other films. It opens up possibility to bring in other characters that might be more difficult otherwise, like a Miles Morales. And I know that the whole Sony deal makes that murky. Things like She-Hulk and Red Hulk and some of these other ones. So maybe when the snap happened, maybe there wasn't a death after all. Maybe they went to alternate universes. Think about where Thanos is at the end of Infinity War. Think about where Gamora is and when Gamora is, right? The age of Gamora that we see in terms of being inside of that Soul Stone. And obviously, and just to sort of append on that and not having mentioned Gamora, I think she clearly is going to play a huge role being inside of the Soul Stone, or being in this universe inside the Soul Stone. And I think because of her unique, very emotional and deep relationship with Thanos that he clearly doesn't have with anybody else, right, that we've seen on screen. He does not have that with Nebula at all. Right, we know Gamora is his favorite daughter. She may be the one that is going to be the Achilles heel. That's going to be able to find the Achilles heel in Thanos, and I think Nebula is going to have an important role in here as well. I won't go too deep into what I think that is, but girl power, yo. A lot of good girl power coming, not just from Captain Marvel, but some of the other characters as well. So those are my shareable predictions, speculation for what I think is coming to Avengers Endgame. I am now officially under 24 hours before, at this time tomorrow, God willing, if you want to make God laugh, tell him what you're doing tomorrow. This time tomorrow, I will be in the midst of, it depends and everything. I will be there enjoying Avengers Endgame. So I want to hear from you in terms of your thoughts of my theories, in terms of your theories, discussion, debate. I'll read them here in the comments. If you want to call in, you can call in as well. We might as well make it a call-in show while we're at it, because I can talk about and nerd about this stuff all night long. I was going to also say that I would love for the end credit scene to be Deadpool showing up being like, hey, guys, if you would have just, signed the contract a little bit earlier, I could have helped out. I don't really think that is what is going to happen. But if you want to comment on any of my theories or share any of your own, you can call 407-413-WDW1. And I would love to keep the conversation going. Again, spoiler free. If you try and spoil it, I will hang up as quickly as I can. Eric Benkert, I agree with you as well in terms of Adam Warlock. I do believe we're going to see him, but I didn't want to get too much into that. Hey, it's Lou. You are on the spoiler-free air.
Oh, yes, it's going to be spoiler-free. That's for sure. This is Darlene Nagy from West Seneca, New York.
Of course it is. How are you, Darlene Nagy from West Seneca, New York?
I am doing fantastic. Okay, so I can't go and see it until Keith is off. I've been put on warning not to go and sneak to the theater by myself.
If you go, nobody will rat you out, just so you know.
This would be good. This would be good, because I'm like wanting to go tomorrow night. But I think a lot of your theories could be true, especially the Piper one. For absolute positively, from reading some of the comics years ago, I think that could definitely come true. I'm kind of hoping that she would become one of our superheroes like Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it's I think what we're going to see is not just the conclusion of some character stories, but the introduction of new characters. And I don't necessarily just mean ones that we, even if you're not a comic book fan, may know very well. I think there's an opportunity here to introduce what will be not necessarily the new Avengers, the West Coast Avengers, all the different types of Avengers, but the next chapters of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right, because there's so many different realms that you could go through to get back to where we are and what has happened and how they've shown how things have gone and come back again. I mean, I don't see this ending here. I think there's going to be a jump start to something new. And I'm really excited about that. And I think, especially with everything that they're going to be doing with Disney Plus, I don't see this ending anytime in the near future.
I agree. And there's a lot of people talking about Adam Warlock. I agree, and I don't want to share too much of what I think my thoughts are on Adam Warlock, because I don't want it to potentially be something we see. Again, I'm being clear that I know nothing. Everything that I'm sharing is purely coming from a guess point of view.
Right.
So we'll see. We shall see. We'll find out tomorrow, although I will promise I will keep my mouth shut until people have a chance to see.
Yeah. Well, did you see Deadpool 2?
Of course. Did you just ask me if I saw Deadpool 2?
I did, because my girlfriend watched it, and she didn't get what I got out of it. And I'm like, you really need to go back and watch it before you go and see Endgame. Honestly,
I mean, look, you don't, I will tell you, nothing right now from that sort of the side of Fox and the Sony side of things will have
Okay.
any sort of real impact on it.
It won't.
No.
I really thought it was going to.
No, have her spend her time catching some of the other ones that maybe were off her radar. I think, we talk about Civil War and Winter Soldier and Infinity War. I think Doctor Strange should be one that you see. I think Guardians needs to be one that you see. Obviously, Captain Marvel, just to get a basic framework for what we're going to see.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I know her kids are doing they were doing the Marvel movie thing where they watched every single one a day to get to the end here. So I'm hoping that this helps them when they go to see Endgame with her. I think it will. I'm definitely, I already have rewatched Thor Ragnarok in that, and I've seen a couple of the other movies that I thought might help me with, like Winter Soldier and stuff. I just I'm just hoping that I am right on my thoughts with the way everything will go.
I will leave you with this. Definitely watch Thor Ragnarok again. Not just because of Thor and Hulk, but because of another character in there who you might not realize is incredibly strong. And if you look carefully at promo pieces and poster art, this character did not go away. So I think he or she is going to make a return appearance in Endgame and is definitely going to help fight the good fight. And I will just see that.
Perfect. Okay. I will let you go on to the next call. Thank you
so much.
Have
a good night. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Yeah. As I was watching Ragnarok again the other night, I'm like, this person is going to play an important role in, when I say important role, this person will play a role in Avengers Endgame. I don't think Captain Caveman is going to come back, although if some of the other Saturday morning superheroes wanted to make an appearance, I would totally dig it. Becky Menken, it is definitely an era of girl power. I don't see gender. I just see a legion of superheroes, all with great powers. But to that point, Captain Marvel is not the only strong primary character, female lead character that I think we are going to see. Heather, I think you should see Ant-Man and the Wasp. Specifically, watch the last act. Watch the last 45 minutes of Ant-Man and the Wasp, just to sort of catch you up. And don't be surprised to see Cassie from Ant-Man and the Wasp as well. So there are Veronica Suhada. There are a lot of kick butt women. Mark Lorenzo, how many end credit scenes do I predict? I haven't seen anything. I don't want to see anything, but 3. I'm going to guess 3. Hey, it's Lou. You're on the spoiler-free Avengers pregame show.
Oh, this is live?
We're live, man. Who's this?
Oh, this is Caleb Hill.
How you doing, Caleb?
Good. I'm actually watching it. For some reason, it's on a freeze, or it's actually not on a freeze. It's actually on the wrong time zone. But I'm watching it, so it's cool. Yeah, the spoiler-free. This is my first time being on here. I've never been on a live stream before.
Cool, man. Thank you for calling in.
I love your podcast. It's really amazing. I'm actually on show number 40.
Wow.
The Magic. This is awesome.
That's a long
Never
way
been
to
on a
go.
live stream before.
So what is your Avengers Endgame theory or expectation or hope?
Hope. I hope Spider-Man comes back. That was very sad when he died. So hopefully he comes back.
I cried. I did. I cried in the theater.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we know we'll see. You know, you're going to see Spider-Man again because Far From Home is coming out in just a couple of months. So it'll be interesting to see how the timeline is all going to play into it.
Okay.
So, but cool, man. I appreciate you listening and calling in, and I look forward to. You should come into the Box People group and share some thoughts about some of those earlier episodes.
Okay.
All right, brother. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
So yeah, I'm trying to. I see people are talking about end credit scenes. I don't want to know anything. I like going in completely blind and just like when you had that Captain America end credit scene. Sometimes patience pays off, and sometimes it's just disappointing. So I want to go in. I want to go in completely blind to see what the end credit or not end credit scenes are, because now we're trained no matter what movie we watch, even if we've seen it in the past. I will literally sit there on Netflix or on demand or Apple TV and I'll fast forward to the end just in case, like the Goonies has an end credit scene, or like I've seen them a million times. I know that they don't, but it's almost we're conditioned to have that level of expectation. So Amber Bramble says, I just can't stop singing Baby Stark, Baby Stark. I assume you're doing it to the tune of Baby Shark. And if you would like to call the voicemail at 407-900-9391 and sing Baby Stark, I don't know what I will send you, but I do think that would be awesome. So I see that there was a number of questions in here about Stan Lee. I think it has been confirmed that this Stan Lee cameo will be his last. I wonder if they will bridge a former Stan Lee cameo as of being one of the Watchers. So if you remember, Stan Lee was sitting with a giant spacesuit on and some other very large characters on what appeared to be a moon or a planet or an asteroid, telling a story about the time he was the FedEx guy. Those are the Watchers. And who's watching the Watchers, by the way? But you wonder, is that going to be the end credit scene, or is it going to be something more meaningful and impactful? I will tell you, though, Into the Spider-Verse may be one of my favorites, if not my favorite. Even though it wasn't him on film, what he said was one of my favorite Stan Lee cameos ever. So, I just hope this is the most fan service movie ever, says Ryan Donahoe. Ryan Donahoe, by the way, you may remember that voice from this past week's show about Star Wars Celebration and the Star Tours audio documentary. Hope it's the most fan servicey movie ever. Listen, one of the things that I love about these films, and certainly if you've watched them over and over again, I think you start to feel an alignment or an affinity towards certain writers and directors. And man, oh man, the Russo brothers just get it. They get it big time. I love Joss Whedon, and I loved his vision, and I think he very much laid the foundation for the original Avengers. I like Joss's stuff. I love Firefly. If you've never watched Firefly, it was only 13 episodes, and then there was a movie just to try and wrap things up. But I love Firefly so much. But the Russo brothers just get it, and I think Feige gets it because Feige is a fan first and definitely wants to satisfy the fan appetite, whether you're new to the MCU or you are a super nerd and your bookshelf is just lined up with thousands of comics. So let's see. Firefly was amazing, says Amanda Patton. I agree. David Potts loved the Star Tours episode. Yeah, Ryan did an amazing job for it. Veronica also was. I never saw Buffy. I never saw Buffy, but I have all the Firefly episodes on my DVR, and when I go to sleep late at night, it's taking me literally months to get through them because I'm going to bed 1-2 o'clock and I'm only getting about 15 20 minutes in of watching time in there. I've been told I need to watch Buffy, but I just haven't had a chance to go back. Listen, I've literally never seen 1 second of Game of Thrones, so I have a lot of things that I need to catch on. So, Eric, I agree with you. Firefly was awesome. Serenity, not so much. I think it was very much rushed into production just to try and put a tight bow on it. I wish they would have taken that money, somehow sold the rights to Firefly, let it go to another. If Firefly would have happened now, that would have been the perfect show to go to Netflix. It also would have, I think, been received differently and had a much longer lifespan had it been on Netflix. The way they did it on Fox, even the way they released the episode, they were out of order, and you're out of order. They were all out of order. It would have been a much different, not just fan reaction, but I think network reaction as well. So, Becky Mencken says Buffy was one of the best series, comedy and brilliance. It's from the mouth of princesses. Jimmy Horn, thank you very much. Yeah, man, this was my shirt from Infinity War when I went to the press event. I didn't get this one for Endgame because I chose to stand outside and cheer runners instead. So, Patrick Sherrick Moore, go watch Firefly. I don't think it's on Netflix anymore. They just aired it. They had a Firefly marathon over, I don't know, Groundhog Day or something. So I recorded them there, but you can find them on iTunes or other. I might even be on some other streaming services as well. So, but anywho, so that's it. That is my top 10 list of non-spoilery theories. I would love to hear yours in the Box People group over the next couple of days. Again, please try and keep the Box People group spoiler free. I think what we should do is have a post Endgame conversation, and maybe instead of doing it this way, maybe I'll give you guys an opportunity to experience what we do every month for the WDW Radio Nation, where it's not just me with my webcam, but you guys can get on and do a call like that too. So it's not you having to text your reactions, but get in and do it as well, and all have a chance to talk about it in a cacophony of folks. But we'll see. Look for something next week. Again, the timing, because I will be at the Hollywood Studios anniversary. I'll definitely be live from there as well. I also promise that I will get. There was a gap in between shows. I have a really interesting. I recorded today a very different, interesting look at Disney and the Disney parks and Walt Disney and some of the things we saw on screen, and a topic that I think hasn't really been discussed very much. So. Jim O'Meal, I could put the list up. I don't know that it would necessarily make sense to you completely, but if I do it, but I will very quickly, because you asked, I won't make you go back and watch everything all over again. So I will quickly put up the list and go through it one more time for you. Again, I think that Shuri has a backed up version of Vision, and that we will see not just him again, but I think Shuri is going to play an important role. I think everything is happening exactly as Doctor Strange not only predicted, but as Doctor Strange planned. And I think if you watch Infinity War again, watch his face and emotions and even hands when he hands over the stone to Thanos. An old character or two or three is going to return. I think we are going to see Ultron. I think we're going to see Harley Keener, the kid from Iron Man 3, definitely come back again and play not just a throwaway role, but a significant role. I think those who disappeared aren't dead. I think that those who disappeared are alive, but again, I don't want to go too far into that one again, but everything is not as it seems. Some wrongs will be made right. And in terms of returning characters, I think Tony's going to right some wrongs with his dad, Howard Stark. And I think Cap, and because remember, this is going to be very much the arc for these two characters. Tony is going to reconcile with his dad, and Captain America is going to get what he's always wanted, the simple pleasure of just that dance with the oh-so-lovely Peggy Carter. I think that clip of Tony's video diary isn't from the beginning of Endgame, but I think it's from the end. I think Tony sacrifices himself to save one or more other people. And I think Mo Hawkeye, and I just like saying Mo Hawkeye, is going to be a surprise hero. He is one without any superpowers or super tech per se, but him coming back as Ronin is not just because we need to see Mo Hawkeye again. There's a reason why he is going to be there, and all of a sudden his presence is going to be more impactful than just, knocking out a few Chitauri here and there. Loki isn't dead. I don't know that Loki ever dies. So we'll see if Loki makes a triumphant or otherwise return. Pepper Potts is going to come to the rescue, not just to help rescue characters, but as rescue the character. And you can sort of do the Google and Wikipedia to see who and what rescue is and why. Pepper has her own Iron Man suit that was made specifically for her. And this isn't the end. This is not the end of the Avengers, maybe as you've known them for the past decade, but it's the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse, not just the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And as excited as I am for Endgame, I'm already thinking ahead, especially now with the Fox deal and all those characters and stories and characters being told the right way. And, with all due respect to, I found the X-Men films entertaining and some of the other films, not so much so, but classic characters and stories like the Fantastic Four and the Silver Surfer and so many other ones. And we'll probably see Galactus and the Watchers and what is coming next and what it means because of the timing of the Fox deal has me insanely excited. So there is a lot to be excited for, not just in terms of the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse on the big screen, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe on the little screens and on your phones and on Disney Plus, and just where those stories and those characters, Scarlet Witch and Vision and Loki and Falcon and Bucky, are all going to play in relation to what happens now when we see Endgame in now 22 hours. I want to just take 11 melatonins and go to sleep and just wake up inside of the theater in my big comfy chair, just ready to go and ready to hit it. But thank you to all of you who have watched and who have shared some very interesting theories. I want to keep this conversation going. Do me a favor, if you enjoyed our discussion of the Avengers pregame, do me a favor, share this out on your profile with your friends on the Twitter, in groups, and because I would love to hear some thoughts on my theory. More importantly, I want to hear some thoughts on your theories as well. Jeremy very quickly says, any thoughts on the team suits from the trailer? I think obviously the quantum realm is going to play an important role. I think in traditional, typical Russo brothers fashion, everybody that you saw in that scene of them walking through the Avengers complex is not necessarily going to be who's going to be there in the film. So we shall see. But in any event, I hope you survive the snap. We are very much in the end game now. I love you, and I'm talking to you. I love you. I appreciate you. I am grateful for you being here. I have to figure out how I'm going to be able to share and decompress after I see the film tomorrow, and where and how we can start a conversation about it so that we can all do it together. I hope that you have a great night, a great week. I hope you survive the snap. Remember, don't eat or drink a lot before. It's a 3-hour, it's so big. It's a 3-hour movie. I am excited, more so excited for this film than I think I have been for any other film that I have seen. Yes, that includes Spider-Man. I promise I'm not going to take my gauntlet to the theater tomorrow. So, but thank you guys. I love you again. Don't forget to continue to comment and to share. Keep the conversation going. Don't forget also to, if you are not a member of the Box People group, please be sure and do it. And again, thanks to all of you who are part of the WDW Radio Nation family. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And wait, see, I'm trying to do like 15 things all at once. So until tomorrow, until next time, whenever next time is, who knows with all this time stuff. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to tune in tonight. And so until next time, have a good night, everybody. See ya.